Hello, I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and thank you for joining us at the Nevis Emergency Operations Center, EOC, today Monday 15th June 2020, for an update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, here on Nevis. I want to take this opportunity to thank all persons who are viewing and to thank our media houses for joining us this evening. All questions will be taken at the end after all speakers would have presented. The Nevis COVID-19 briefings will be aired on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on Nevis Television. You can also look for the briefings on the YouTube channel and Facebook pages of Nevis Television, Nevis HPU, and Nevis NDMD, which is the Nevis Disaster Management Facebook page. With us today we have Mr. Brian Dyer. He is the Director of the Nevis Emergency Operations Center. Mr. Lyndon David, Superintendent of Police, Nevis Division, and Dr. Judy Nisbet, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force. Welcome to everyone. I'd like to invite Mr. Brian Dyer to provide his update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus.
Good evening. I'll start with a bit of weather information. Tropical weather outlook as of 2 p.m. today, 15 June. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 48 hours. However, there's a small system in the North Atlantic moving past the Carolina coastline that should bring some thunderstorms and showers to that location. I'd like to continue the plea to ensure that our general public starts the preparation or get the preparation together with regards to the rest of the Atlantic hurricane season, as it is forecast to be a very active season. Now, so for some statistics from the Nevis EOC Post Authority, they have indicated that from the 4th of June to 13th of June, they have repatriated 56 persons. This brings the total, the grand total of 211 persons have been repatriated since the start of the repatriation process from the 26th of March to the 13th of June. Continuing, the Ministry of Health has continued its distribution of face masks and hand sanitizers to the local churches, and to date, some 52 churches have benefited from this donation. With regards to the Compliance Task Force, the Compliance Task Force have indicated that they have completed some 562 inspections since they were commissioned, and this number includes some 20 revisits to businesses. And finally, I would like to say a special thank you to the Best Buy supermarket for donating a quantity of face masks to the Ministry of Health and the EOC staff. So again, special thanks to Best Buy supermarket for their timely donation as the Ministry of Health continues the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer, for your updates. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Lyndon David, Superintendent of Police, Nevis Division.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Good evening to all. It's a pleasure to be here once again to provide you with some updates from the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force. Thus far, we have conducted 905 patrols, 83 vehicle checkpoints. We made 40 arrests, and out of the 40, we have charged 10 persons. We had 13 crimes committed and 14 persons were arrested. And we have stopped 2,793 vehicles, 11 persons were informed that there will be summons for the various offenses that were committed during the period. Currently, we are now using our new regulation, number 25 of 2000, Emergency Powers, COVID-19, number 9. And this came into effect at 6:01 a.m. on Saturday, the 13th of June, and will expire at 4:59 a.m. on Saturday, the 27th of June, 2020. Now, I will inform you as to what is the day of limited operation, and this means a period of limited operation of businesses and enterprises which would be in place on 5 a.m. until 11:59 p.m., where movement shall be exercised in accordance with Regulation 7 and 16 and aspects of Schedule 1. Night curfew. This shall be the duration from 12 midnight of one day until 4:59 a.m. the following day. We are encouraging persons to remember the timings as the curfew time has changed. We are reminding all persons who have schools to be reminded that all educational places of instruction, they remain closed. Also, there shall be no hosting of private parties, and there shall be no recreational or competitive sporting event or other type of public entertainment. I want to let persons understand something here, that during the day of limited operation, restaurants and takeaway food vendors, they may be open up to 10 p.m. This will give persons sufficient time to close their necessary business operations and ensure that persons get home before the curfew set in. The COVID-19 task force continue to do its job. I know that they are doing well. Thus far, we know that persons are complying fully during the day, but in the night it becomes a challenge. We're saying to you persons who have your businesses, do comply with all these restrictions and guidance that are given to you. Guess what? It protects you and it protects your customers, protects our entire federation. They are there for advice and guidance. Now, masks must be worn, covering your nose and mouth in public places, and once during this period of emergency. In conclusion, I just want to thank God for His continued mercies and blessings on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and for giving us good leadership to do our research and bring before you what we are presenting to ensure that we continue to experience what we're experiencing, which is good for us. The federal and local government, the staff of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force here in Nevis, the medical staff, disaster staff here at Nevis, all you essential workers who are continuing going out and working hard to protect our citizens. You, the citizens, for your support, who are informing us as various breaches so that we can go and address them. And I say to you, as usual, all those persons who are participating in violation, we are saying to you, take this thing very seriously and be on board with us to ensure that we have no new cases. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much, Superintendent David. And now I'd like to welcome Dr. Judy Nesbitt, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force, to provide her updates.
Good evening to everyone. The World Health Organization reports that as of 10 a.m. today, 15th June, there have been 7,690,708 confirmed cases of COVID-19 worldwide, with 137,526 cases reported in the last 24 hours. 427,603 persons have died, with 4,281 of these persons dying in the last 24 hours. In the region of the Americas, there have been, up to now, more than 3,700,000 confirmed cases and over 199,000 deaths. These figures prove that the pandemic is nowhere near being over, and that we ought not to be complacent as the figures increase worldwide. On Nevis, the figures have remained the same over the past few weeks, with 124 persons tested, 4 of whom tested positive, and all cases have recovered, and there are no active cases currently, and no one in quarantine. Restaurants, as you would have heard from Superintendent, have been permitted to offer dine-in service after being closed to this type of service for some time. While we are happy that economic activity in this sector will be boosted with this new permission, we ask operators and patrons to be mindful of the requirements of social distancing and wearing of masks, which are still in effect. Some tips for restaurants as they open. Tables for customers should be 6 feet apart in all directions. Social distancing should be practiced by employees also. Now, 4 persons from the same household can dine together at the same table. However, no more than 2 persons from different households should dine together. Employees should wear a comfortable, properly fitting face covering that doesn't need constant adjusting. And as Superintendent said, these face coverings or masks should cover both the nose and the mouth. Employees shouldn't be touching the front of the mask and contaminating their hands while serving customers. Masks should not be shared, and each employee should have spare masks in the event that the one that is being worn gets soiled. Employees should be trained on how to correctly don, that is, put on and take off and discard of their mask and gloves, if gloves are being used. Patrons should wear masks until they are ready to eat or drink. So while conversing at the table, prior to the drinks or the food being served, masks should be on. Employees, of course, should wash their hands properly and often and between serving patrons. Hand hygiene stations should be provided for patrons. Constantly clean and disinfect surfaces, especially in high traffic areas. Bathrooms, of course, should be cleaned on schedule and often. Ensure all condiments provided directly to customers are in single-use disposable containers. And if this is not possible, for example, the salt and the pepper, if this is not possible, reusable containers should be regularly cleaned and disinfected. If non-disposable menus are used, clean and disinfect the menus between each party's use. Businesses may want to start to consider online menus at this point, so that persons can order before coming, and that will shorten the amount of time that they spend in the restaurant also. Use prepackaged silverware or pre-rolled silverware. In other words, do not allow silverware to sit on the table while patrons come into the restaurant. Silverware must be pre-rolled while the persons who are pre-rolling these should be wearing masks and gloves. Consider daily screening of employees for COVID-19 symptoms and also temperature checks. So these are just some tips that restaurants should follow. So as we relax measures and allow for added economic activity, please let us all keep safe. If restaurants need any advice or additional information, please do not hesitate to call the Emergency Operations Center. You can ask for someone from the health EOC, and they may call 469-1423 to speak to any one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Nisbet. We've now come to the end of our presenters giving their updates. We now invite any questions from our media houses. Question for Superintendent Lyndon David, Shamika Budgeon, Von Radio. In the PM's address on Friday, he reminded persons of the safety protocols such as wearing of masks and the social distancing. We are once again and still realizing that persons are not adhering. What is the security force doing about this?
Thank you very much for that question. I can say that what we're doing is what we're doing all the time. We are warning persons. Persons are being summoned and persons are being arrested. There will be instances wherein that you may see a large number of persons wearing masks, and the police will take action. In most instances, it's best to either give a warning or summon as opposed to take them to the station if one believes that it is possible that that person may have the virus also. But we are aware of the current situation within St. Kitts and Nevis. So we will do according to how we see things are going. But like I said, thank you for that question, but thus far, we are still encouraging persons to wear the mask in public places and do not follow other persons. Remember, the responsibility is yours for yourself and your family members. Thank you.
Last week, Mr. David stated that he did not see or realize anyone wearing or not wearing masks. Please explain. In this capacity, the warnings are not working as to why we are stuck on this matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, for me personally, yes, I can say maybe for me, I did not see anyone because of my circumstance. I may not have been out of the office. As a matter of fact, I was dealing with other things. However, police officers are advised to and instructed to address these matters. I can recall that I was walking in Charlestown and I had reason to go into a business place. And then I saw where there was a breach where mask is concerned. And immediately I seek for the person who is in charge and tell them get it rectified. And if it happens again, they'll be closed down. So though that we have the task force out there, individual officers, once they see these breaches, they take the necessary course of action. So it's not that we are going round and round, but we have to ensure that we get the message out. So this week, I trust that we will see persons being summoned and taken before the court, and that we will see more and more compliance. We do not want to go through that aspect of summoning and arresting. We prefer people to comply. But once persons have failed to comply, we take the necessary courses of action in order to address this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent David. Jamaica Budget of Von Radio for Mr. Dyer. Can you give the maximum amount of persons that can hold in the hurricane shelters on the island?
Thank you for the question. Prior to COVID, we had on island 24 shelters with a maximum capacity of 1,800, utilizing a 15 square feet per person. However, since COVID, we have now scaled up the capacity, the spacing per person to 36 square feet. So we have had to individually look at the shelters and reduce the capacity, utilizing the 36 square feet per person. So we have to look at the individual shelter and reduce the spacing by 36 square feet per person to come up with the number of persons that facility can hold.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer. Any more questions? Thank you, Von Radio, for your questions today. Now I'd like to thank all of our presenters and the media houses that joined us today. And I want to also remind persons of the state of emergency that Superintendent would have highlighted bits of. I also want to remind persons to stay safe and to protect themselves and others by doing the measures that we've been pushing for several weeks now. Wash your hands with soap and water, cover your cough and sneeze, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unclean hands, disinfect touch surfaces often, eat plenty of dark green vegetables and all types of vegetables and fruits, drink plenty of water and exercise, continue to practice physical distancing, wear a facial mask, and stay at home if you don't need to move about. Of course, the hotline numbers are on the screen, 311 or 661-5051. And I also want to give thanks to the Nevis Disaster Management, Nevis Television, Caribbean Digital Display Cornerstone Task Force member for making these briefings possible. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and please join us again next Monday at 8:30 p.m. on Nevis Television for another edition of the Nevis COVID-19 briefing. Thank you, and please stay safe.